Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, family. It's been way too long. Thank you for your support last season. We gonna start this season off with a bang. Okay. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Javian Lorenz Moore, a senior music major vocal performance emphasis from Stone Mountain, Georgia, currently attending Morehouse College. Now, today we're going to talk about something that is essential to success, something that may not be popular, something that may not be natural, but something that has to be done in order to achieve what you want to achieve. Now, let me start off by introducing my guest. Her name is Hunter Christopher. She is the president of the Spelman College Glee Club. She is a junior and she recently had a birthday. Now let me turn the camera to my guest. Now I'm gonna let her tell you a little bit more about herself. How you doing today, Hunter?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Okay. Well, as Raven said, my name is Hunter Christopher. I'm a junior biology major, pre med, and Spanish minor at Spelman College. I am from the British Virgin Islands, and yes, I do serve as the president of the Spelman College Glee Club.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Hunter, for agreeing to join me in the show today. Um,
Yes.
so let's start it off with a basic question. Um, First of all, let me tell my audience we're going to be discussing how to push through even when you're tired, because there
Mm.
are a lot of times when and you've seen it as a leader. There are a lot of times when we're tired, we may feel like going to sleep or sitting down or just not being bothered, but in the situations that we face, it is sometimes necessary to push past those emotions. Now, has there been any specific time that comes to mind when you think of having to persevere even when you didn't feel like it?
I kind of feel like this happens yearly at least. There's always this point in this is like, it's time for me to take a break. But I also do think that's important, like finding that balance of when you need to take a break and when you actually need to push through.
Mm,
But I think it happens about every semester, honestly.
yeah, yeah. You hit the nail on the head. It's important to have that balance of knowing when to push through and knowing when to sit down. Because if you don't know when to sit down, your body will sit you down,
Hmm.
and you won't have a choice at that point. So, how do you find that balance? How do you personally find that balance between, you know, recognizing when to sit down and when to push?
That's a tough decision, but I think is like these are the goals that I have. These are the things that I need to accomplish to achieve my goal. If it's like if I have time to take a seat back, then go ahead and do that. But if I don't know, like if you've been not on your game, it's like to do better. Like it's kind of like empowering yourself. So like you have the potential to do this thing, go ahead and do it. But if it's like I feel emotionally, physically exhausted, I think that's the point where you need to be like, okay, sit back and reevaluate how you feel and what you can do to moving forward.
Hmm. Okay, so taking time for yourself to analyze the
Yeah.
situation and how you feel in the moment. Yeah, that's very key. So would you say, based off your answer, would you say that self-awareness is key in having that understanding of when to push through?
Most definitely. I think it's really important to like reflect probably on every depending on your schedule, how it works for you. For each day works and I like to journal sometimes. Just journal my thoughts, how I feel in the moment. Cause at times it's like hard to just sit back and realize how you actually feel. But you need to actually take time and reflect on the day so you can know like what could I do better tomorrow, if that makes sense.
Yes, that definitely does. And referring to how you feel, sometimes, actually a lot of times, when you're in this leadership position, it's
Mhm.
easy to consider others before yourself, because obviously we understand that as presidents of both organizations, we are servants. We serve the Glee Club. We want to uphold the legacy of the
Mhm.
Glee Club. So it's easy for us to look after other people, look after the well-being of others without recognizing that we have to do the same thing for ourselves. So
Mhm.
how does that affect who you surround yourself with when it comes a time that you may not recognize, you know what, I need to sit down and eat, or you know what, I need to sit down and just sit down and do nothing for a little bit so that I can be
Mhm.
productive? How does that affect your circle?
That's a great question. I think once you are in good company, then they know how you feel. They know when to check up on you, and vice versa. So once
Mm,
you are in constant communication with the people that you love, it is like, how have you been doing? Have you actually been doing the things that you need to do? Have you been sleeping? So once you surround yourself around people that you actually love and actually can care for you, then I think everything will fall into place.
mm. Okay, yeah, that's what's up. So you said you're from the British Virgin Islands, and I know you recently just went back home. So have you been hearing and seeing a lot of the things that you just emphasized, like family members asking you, "Are you really doing good? Are you really getting enough sleep? Are you really eating enough?" Have you experienced that?
Yep, absolutely. My mom is on my case like all the time. She's
Yeah.
like, "Why are you still up? Isn't classes over?" I still have duties as the president of the Spelman College Glee Club, but it's
Mm.
always like good to hear from my mom or anybody else in my family that, okay, take a break, relax. It's the holiday season, like literally, just take a chill pill.
I mean, y'all didn't know the answer to this, but John P. Key is your name, but what does the P stand for?
The P actually stands for Prince. Dr. Scott and Brian Scott, years ago when I signed my first deal, they ran with it and started the Prince of Gospel, but that's where it came from. Lizzie and John named me John Prince Key.
Honey, what I think you need is a socket wrench.
I played JV basketball.
I'm sorry. I don't think it looks right.
This is good, and it's all
Is
good,
it,
baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
I'm gonna call my dad.
You know, we're going to talk about something that you hear more and more about today. Seems like you hear about it more than we ever did before, and that's dementia.
It's not just old folks' disease. It's not just old folks need to worry about it. Anyone can get dementia. You can get it as, we have people that's in their 20s and 30s that have been diagnosed with it. And then also, if you don't have dementia, you may be a family caregiver or care partner, and you're still impacted, and you still need to know about the disease so you can be able to better support your family or friend that is living with dementia.
Pushing through encompasses endurance as well. Not
Yeah.
running like it's a sprint, not trying to complete every task at one time, but understanding that you have to take things step by step. Wouldn't you
Mhm.
agree?
I definitely agree.
Most def. And that's something that, I'm still honestly trying to learn how to do for real, because I'm the type of person that if I know that a task has to be done, I want it out the way. I don't want it in the
Mhm.
back of my mind, because if I don't get it done, I'm gonna continue to think about it. I'm gonna continue to stay up. I'm gonna continue to not be focused on what I need to be focused on, because in the back of my mind is something that I didn't complete yet. So how do you separate, um, or how do you decide what is a priority at the moment versus something that you can complete at a later date?
I think deadlines is really important. First of all, okay, before the deadline comes yourself, if that makes sense.
Right.
We already talked about self-evaluation. So how you feel in the moment, that's first. Secondly, is what is priority in terms of the goals that we already talked about before. And secondly,
Hmm.
is like what feels right in the moment. Because
Mm.
sometimes it's like, okay, this is really high on my priority list, but I really just don't feel like it. But I think that in order to be productive is like do what's best for what you feel like in the moment. So if this easier task is easier for you, do that and then tackle the harder task. That's just what I go by. But I'm kind of curious to what you think.
Similar. For me, um, I would rather tackle the harder task first because from that harder task, I learn the simplicity of the other task. So when I
Mm,
accomplish that task, that's kind of like empowerment for me because everything else that I have to get done is like, oh, I can get that done because I just did this. Like this is nothing compared to what I just accomplished. So that's what I personally like to do. But there are times that time doesn't necessarily permit for me to attack that hard task first, just because of what you said.
yeah.
Deadlines have to be met. So even though a task may be easier and I may want to complete the harder task at the time doesn't permit because of the current situation um, of what is due and when it's due, if that makes sense. So that's definitely what I would strive to do, attack the harder task first, but sometimes that's just not a possibility. Um, but I will say, just like I said, you can learn something from the harder task, vice versa when it comes to the easier tasks. You can learn something from the easier tasks because I'm the type of person, I like to connect things. I like to believe that everything is connected in some way, shape, or form. So when that comes to completing an easier task, um, understanding why that task is so easy, first of all, and then understanding that even though the task is easy, you still took steps to complete it. So understanding that for each specific task will ultimately bring you a solution for completing that harder task. So
Hmm.
that's how that's just how I go about completing tasks when it comes to being president or um, trying to, you know, be successful in my academics with everything going on, all the extracurriculars and involvement on campus. That comes from, understanding the situation. Just like you said, evaluating yourself, evaluating the
Yeah.
situation, and recognizing if you have enough fuel to complete it at that moment.
Hmm.
That's just me, though. That's how I feel about everything. But when it comes to extracurriculars,
Hmm.
aside from um, the Glee Club, because we recognize that we're both president of the Glee Club, extracurriculars in general. Um, how would you say you decide what you can do and what you can't do as far as extracurriculars? Because I know we talked about understanding when and where to do something or when and where to complete something. But also that goes into time management and understanding the time that you have to be a part of a greater cause or greater purpose or an organization overall, especially if you're at the head of that organization. So how do you
Right.
decide? Because there are a lot of opportunities in AUC, as being on Spelman's campus and I being on Morehouse campus, seeing all the opportunities, not just in the AUC, but in Atlanta. Atlanta is a lot of opportunities for a lot of things, both good and bad. But how do you recognize uh, what you can do based off of what you want to do?
Come on. Um, that's a great question. These are really this food for thought, really. I haven't really sat and thought about this for you, but I think just really being honest with yourself. Okay, I keep on saying self-reflection, but it's true. This is what I really think. Being honest with yourself. How can I fit this into my schedule? I think it's really being honest with yourself. And if you're in a hierarchy kind of organization, being honest with the people that manage you and are over you. So it's like if I know that I need to study, okay, for an example, I am the co-social media manager of the Blue Record, which is Spelman College's official podcast. So if I know that I have study time and I really can't avoid it, but I need to do post an interactive post on Instagram for the Blue Record, I need to be honest with the director of communications and let her know I really can't do this. Can I have someone step in for me? So that's what I think.
Wow, that takes a lot of selflessness, because we like being active, we like doing things and being a part of all these things, but recognizing that you don't necessarily have the time to do it at that moment, that's a lot of maturity when it comes to pride and when it comes to duties. I was just talking to the Glee Club recently about people wanting to be in positions, because our situation as far as the pandemic coming back to give some type of visual or some type of a relativeness. When I left as a sophomore, before the pandemic, came back as a senior. So that means 2 classes came in and weren't even able to be on campus. Your class, junior class, didn't even have a whole year on campus, not a full year. So that brings people obviously wanting to uphold legacies. And with that comes with people wanting to step into those positions necessary to uphold those legacies. So I was just talking to the Glee Club about people wanting to be in positions, but the dangerousness of that, because it's easy to say you want to be in a position and then you get in that position and you don't do the things that you said you wanted to do.
Absolutely.
Your actions don't line up with your words or your promises or the things that you said in order to achieve that accomplishment. And I feel like that honesty that you keep talking about is very important, because, and what I said to Glee Club is, when you do that, you're not only lying to yourself, but you're lying to the people that are around you, because you're telling yourself, okay, I can do this, and this is what I'm gonna do when I'm able to do this. And you're telling the people around you, I can do this, and this is what I'm going to do when I get in position to do this. But once you get in that position and you don't do the things that you were planning on doing, people are looking at you expecting the things that you promised. But you aren't able to provide those things because it was all talk and not preparation. So that's why I emphasize and continue to emphasize the fact that leadership starts with action. You can be a leader and you don't have to be in that position to lead the way you want to lead to get in that position.
What's up, House of Folk? It's the Flavor King, and welcome back to Cooking with Flavor KL. You know what time it is. It's time for me to show you how to make chili.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool. To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
So what is some major hesitancies around this vaccine?
Because I ask younger people all the time, why haven't you gotten the shot? A lot of people say, well, my mom hasn't gotten it. And so I think people are impacted by the parents and whatever reasons they have for not getting it. I don't know if you heard Nicki Minaj put out information about her cousin
Yeah.
having his testicles swollen,
Yes.
and of course that took off. Went viral.
Can we clarify that? Can we clarify that the vaccine did not cause his testicles to be enlarged?
None of that. I mean, we do have some risk associated with the vaccine, but the things that we hear out in the public aren't what they are.
Do you intentionally have conversations like this to add fuel to the perseverance that's necessary to be a leader?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my roles as president of the Glee Club, again, is to create leadership development sessions for our executive board. So recently we actually had a talk with Dean Holloman at Spelman College, and we talked about just being a leader and understanding yourself and understanding that there are different means of communication, and that every whole person and how they communicate is just based on how they grew up, how this person is all put together, and that we are different people all together. So yes, we have conversations like this all the time. During e-board meetings, we do have conversations like this as well.
Definitely. But other than that, would you say you seek those conversations day to day, or just when it comes to the business that you're currently in? Like, if you just, not saying you're just walking down the street and you just see somebody be like, let me have this intellectual conversation with you. But I'm saying, like, when you're talking to a friend or something, and I guess my question is, do you look for the details in the conversations for the message that you may need in the moment to push through? I guess that's a better question.
With close friends, yes. I wouldn't,
Sure.
okay. As you said, I wouldn't be looking at with random people. But close
Right.
friends, yes, I look for little trinkets, little gems of wisdom, knowledge in every conversation that we have. So yeah.
Definitely appreciate that, because I thought it was just me that, because I'm always paying attention to detail. Folks be looking at me like, bro, how'd you get all of that from what I just said? But I'm just the type of person, that I'm looking for that, because I realize that we can find a message in everything, in any and
Yes.
everything, as long as we look for it. So, yes, most definitely, man. I appreciate you once again for this very productive conversation. I definitely learned a lot from this conversation. Definitely found those details that I just asked you about from this specific conversation. So I appreciate it again. Thank you, Hunter, for agreeing to join me on this show. I'm sure the audience has definitely learned a lot from you and from this productive conversation. Hopefully the benefits and the fruits of this conversation were reaped. So thank you once again.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So, family, this conversation was definitely needed for me personally, and I hope it was needed for you in the same ways. Realize that everything happens for a reason. Recognizing that will lead you to being more intentional with your actions, and that intention will, of course, lead to the perseverance that is necessary to complete the task at hand. Family, I love you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. And I'm looking forward to a great season.